What's even bougie about having a bathroom inside your apartment?
I'm gonna bring you down to earth a little bit. You wanna be with me? I'm a down to earth person.
I know that this is not the ideal place to bring a princess. You have to walk across the courtyard to get to it, which I can see that being annoying.
Why can't you just admit it's not ideal to pee outside?
I'm not gonna admit that that bathroom is so inaccessible.
I literally was showering one time and there was a raccoon on the roof.
Awesome! We are 3 episodes into the new 90 Day Fiancé Season 10, and as I assumed would happen in a previous video, I'm not really rooting for any couples yet. Remember that video I made talking about how 90 Day Fiancé hasn't aged well? Well, I'm still feeling that in these first few episodes. So far, the only pair I'm really rooting for right now is Ashley and Rico Suave. And no, this is not Rico Suave. This is Rico Suave.
Rico mother Suave.
We do have more couples that we are still waiting to meet, like the guy whose mom lives in the closet. They are really teasing us with that story. Bring on Closet Mom, please. I will say, though, that there is a new couple that I do find interesting. But not really in the whole, I hope they make it as a couple way. It's more like in a, why the heck are these people even on a K1 visa and getting married way? Let me explain. The couple I'm talking about is Sophie and Rob. When we first meet 23-year-old Sophie, she introduces herself as a model, content creator, you know, that influencer type we just have to now be used to seeing on these shows.
Just like social media things, and also I get free clothes, so.
The thing I found interesting about Sophie, though, is that she says she comes from money. She openly talks about how she grew up going to private school and never needed for anything.
It's basically my granddad's like a really hardworking man. I don't really ask about what he does, I just know he made a lot of money.
But they kind of set this up like her being used to having money will be an issue at some point. Because when she talks about Rob, who is an influencer type, like she is, and yes, of course, they met on Instagram and fell in love with each other's filtered pictures, blah, blah, blah.
That FaceTime lasted 8 hours. On FaceTime, like what do you even talk about for someone for 8 hours? But we was just talking non-stop, there was never any silences.
It's interesting how Sophie talks about their connection and how they found each other even though they grew up very differently. They are very obviously pointing out that Rob does not have a lot of money and Sophie will have to adjust to his lifestyle in the US. But I will say that Sophie sounds into Rob, and I'm not getting any big red flags with her expecting Rob to magically have a ton of money or something.
I think Rob is a real man. He just doesn't do some of the things a real man is supposed to do. So it's a bit more serious for me than Rob realizes.
So I was a little confused at first as to why they were pointing this out so many times. And then we get to Rob, and he has a completely different tone about their romance.
I wanted a fine-ass woman, and Sophie is the hottest person I've been with, and that's what I've been looking for.
It's actually him that's the one that's giving me the red flags. Is she funny? Is she smart? Apparently that doesn't matter to him. What a way to introduce your love to the world.
Cringe.
The only thing he says about her, besides her looks, is again that she's used to having money. And there's a giant red flag I'm getting with their entire relationship presented here. And it's that they seem so unbothered by the whole K1 visa process. Apparently Sophie just casually brought up the K1 after they stayed together for 2 months in LA.
And it was so awkward because it was like, this basically means I'm proposing.
You hear about these couples that fight so hard to be together, and these two are just like, yeah, whatever, let's do the K1. Even on this show, we have witnessed couples struggle for months and sometimes years to be in the same country together. Jasmine and Gino are a good example. They were recently doing this on Before the 90 Days. They had a really long wait for their visa, and we had to watch that struggle that felt like it lasted an eternity. But Jasmine did in fact get her visa. And they are now, of course, returning yet again to our screens for this season to start their 90 days. Nope, sorry, we get no break from these psychos. But I will say that on this season so far, I can make one positive comment. I know, a positive comment. Shocking. I noticed on these first few episodes that they seem to be filming this season a bit more naturally, I guess you could say, than the other spin-offs so far. And I'll explain what I mean by that. And yes, Jasmine and Gino are still annoying. I'm not saying they aren't. And there will always be set up scenarios for filming. Those are never going to go away completely. Like the whole thing with Jasmine saying she got secret butt implants. Yeah, secret butt implants. But you can see them. And if we can see them, I don't know how they're a secret from Gino. Okay, yeah, I know, I'm already spiraling back into the negative again. But seriously, I don't know how they're trying to play off that Gino wouldn't notice this. It's not like she can put a hat on them to hide them. Anyways, back to my positive note, my positive point. I am enjoying the natural style of filming when we do see it. And it feels like we're getting a little bit more of that from the show, and I hope that they continue this.
Rico Suave has been with me through a ton of partners. And like they leave and guess who stays? Rico mother Suave.
Like when they let Jasmine just be Jasmine, she's really funny.
This is Michigan.
I hate it.
Like how she talks about how terrible Michigan is.
I think that God didn't want people to live here, but people insisted on living on Michigan.
That actually made me laugh out loud. I think I'm seeing more of that with this new couple as well. Their interviews don't seem as rehearsed, I would say. I'm curious what you think about this. Sarber and Shekinah might have just completely ruined all of my standards for the show, and now I'm being too nice. Let me know. But I will say that the writing and direction of the show is still not much better. Like how Rob and Sophie talk about their K1 visa, or pretty much their lack of talking about it. They make the process sound like it was just nothing.
You're asking if we should get engaged, and I was like, is it fine?
Which is really suspicious to me. But I will circle back to that. I like the idea of the producers just letting people talk without a whole lot of rehearsing or editing. I prefer the show this way. I also think that it makes it easier to gauge these couples' personalities. Like Sophie is the one that seems like a nice, normal person so far. With the way that Rob is presenting himself, I don't get a good impression of him, especially when he shows everyone how they will be living. He doesn't seem ready at all to have Sophie come live with him, but he acts like he is. He also very casually mentions that he doesn't have a bathroom in his studio apartment. It's outside.
I can see that being annoying, especially if you got to go to the bathroom like in the middle of the night. But it hasn't bothered me so much.
And here in the US, that is strange. Even my college dorm had a bathroom inside.
I literally was showering one time and there was a raccoon on the roof. So I was just a bit like, oh my God, like, I don't know where I'm at right now.
Sophie also says that Rob hasn't gotten a steady job to try to improve his living situation. He seems to be living that influencer lifestyle, just waiting to make it big or something. But she is at least aware and has seen his living situation before, which I guess is good. So that won't be some massive surprise. Rob in general doesn't really acknowledge at all that they are not in a great situation to start their 90 days. Instead, he focuses on other things, like a dance to do at the airport for when Sophie arrives. They built up this whole dance thing like it was going to be an Asuelu level performance. But when Sophie does finally arrive, it's just this. I will say it for you, Sophie. Cringe. He was so far away from her. Did anyone else think he was going to break dance? Or maybe do a cartwheel or something? But no, it's just this. And then I think he forgot to give her the ring because they start to walk away and then he gets down on one knee.
Put it on. Is it this finger?
Oh my God, I'm like shaking.
Don't shake.
I think he was supposed to do that at the end of the dance, maybe? I don't know. And that is how they magically start their supposed 90 days. But as the camera crew follows Rob and Sophie out to the elevator, the special awkward proposal dance moment is ruined by a broken elevator.
You're like claustrophobic, Rob.
don't
No,
trust
but I
them
need to
dudes.
get out of the lift.
I can't help that. There's nothing I can do about it.
After traveling so far and being exhausted, Sophie is frustrated. I would be too. I swear those types of things only happen when you're already in a bad mood. Like when you catch your shirt like on a doorknob. But Rob is frustrated with Sophie because this is ruining their airport dance proposal moment. It was not that great, dude. They do get out. I'm claustrophobic and I probably would have flipped out way more than Sophie did, honestly.
Are you angry at me?
Because God, all this attitude over the damn elevator.
You don't think she broke it? But I'm just wondering, you don't think she broke it?
But as this is going on, my impression of Rob just continues to get worse. The performative proposal, him easily getting frustrated with her when she is obviously very tired. So far, I'm just not liking Rob. And to be honest, how they were introduced, I kind of thought it would be the opposite. They do seem to get along for the most part and like each other though. So I'm still not completely sure how to feel about them as a couple yet. The next morning, we see Sophie outside in the bathroom. And she makes it very clear that she is not a fan of the outside bathroom.
Why can't you just admit it's not ideal to pee outside?
I'm not gonna admit that that bathroom is so inaccessible.
But I'm bothered by the way that Rob handles this. It's like he just won't admit that wanting a bathroom inside is not a big ask. I feel like he's in some sort of delusion that he's living the dream, which I mean, this jack of all trades doesn't have a steady job. So I guess maybe he is living his dream?
It don't get no better than this.
I'm starting to agree with Sophie's mom's nickname for Rob.
How's Rob the knob?
Sapa and Shekinah want to remind you to subscribe to the Kiblz channel. If you don't, Sapa will appear and give you an exotic AI-generated dance.
That mother is not real.
This whole bathroom issue becomes the main focus of their fights.
You used to houses in Dubai and London and Spain and all this other bougie-ass stuff.
I don't think that makes someone bougie, but okay. And I don't like how he acts like she has a high standard for not liking this.
What's even bougie about having a bathroom inside your apartment?
I'm gonna bring you down to earth a little bit. You wanna be with me? I'm a down-to-earth person.
So this is where I think we are missing some information, and I will be curious how this plays out. Rob keeps saying how Sophie's family has money, and she's used to having her rent paid for. But then Sophie says this.
When I was about 16, 17 years old, I started just doing waitressing and I afforded like a little apartment in the countryside. And like since then, they don't give me any money.
So which is it? Does she have her family giving her money or not? And if she was so set in London, why didn't they just have Rob come over there on a visa? We have to be missing something. But now we pivot to an even bigger issue. Rob being shady with his phone, which apparently has been an ongoing problem.
I pulled my phone out and this random post basically posted a girl in a Dora the Explorer outfit, but with like booty shorts. Sophie did not like that.
So she mentioned before she got to the US that Rob had cheated online. And this is also when she came out as bisexual to her friend, saying that she hopes to explore that more. Which these conversations are making me think that they still aren't even sure about getting married at all. I don't see why they would be spending a ton of money on a K1 visa when they're having conversations like this about being unsure about their futures. She's also 23 and I feel like she's still trying to get to know herself, so I don't know what the rush is to jump into this, especially since Rob doesn't have a great situation for them in LA. But we get into her saying that she forgave him for the online cheating because they were long distance. But now that she's here, she's having more feelings about it. I'm getting the feeling more and more that these two did not actually start their 90 days. Like, I'm saying that I don't think they even have a K1 visa at all yet. So here are my reasons to back up this conspiracy theory. And it starts with Sophie's comment after she says she thinks Rob just made a mistake.
But it's starting to feel more real now that we're getting closer to the 90 days. And
if Sophie was just visiting because they applied for the K1 visa, this would make much more sense. I have not heard them say one thing about a wedding, about moving out of that place, about Rob really getting a good job to support them. Nothing. Even with Jabri and Miona, who these two remind me of a lot, they were living with his parents and planning a wedding. That came up early in their season. We are still only a few episodes in, I guess, but I'm still suspicious. I'm starting to wonder if they haven't even applied for the visa yet. As a British citizen, Sophie doesn't need a visa to visit the US. At this point, I would actually feel much better watching these two knowing they don't have to get married in 90 days. Because they can't even talk about these issues without Rob getting mad and acting like he did nothing wrong.
You know, when we was doing like the long distance thing and you kind of like did the whole online talking to that one person.
When are you gonna let it go?
I now completely agree with Sophie's mom. Rob is a knob.
I'm saying it a little bit.
I'm downplaying it because I didn't do anything. That I'm not, that you don't
though.
have to.
There's
I did not cheat.
And then they bring up that Sophie is on a dating app to meet friends. So maybe she's doing some sketchy stuff. I don't know. This is just a mess. I hope these two really aren't trying to get married now.
he chose to just get angry and get defensive and blame me for stuff, which is how a lot of our conversations go when he does something.
I mean, we do have Nikki and Igor/Justin on the show who haven't even started their 90 days yet. And on the next episode, my suspicion that they haven't really started their 90 days grows even more.
If I don't ever want kids, is that a problem with you?
You mean after you filed for paperwork and spent a bunch of money to get her there, you didn't talk about if you wanted kids or not? Come on, TLC. I am not buying this. This couple has to belong on before the 90 days. I want to know what you think about this couple. It also looks like we meet a new couple next week, but it's not Closet Mom. I am really not even believing at this point that these two have really started their 90 days. I also haven't seen any hints of a wedding in the previews they've showed, or even her looking at dresses, none of that. I guess only time will tell on this season, and we will just have to wait and see how this season plays out. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye!